What are we going to show here?
A cable split squat.
Cable split squat.
Is that what it's called?
Yep, cable split squat. So,
I'm not mic'd up, so.
okay, well, I am. Can you hear her still? We're gonna, yeah, so we're gonna do the cable split squat. Yep. And why do we use the cable split squat? So when we look at split squat progressions and regressions, and we look at any exercise progression regression, what we're looking for is regressing somebody back to whatever level they need to be at in order to do the exercise with technical mastery, then loading that and then progressing them forward. So with the cable split squat, we like to use this to reinforce which direction someone should move in, and we find it to be a good movement that creates stability as the cable provides that stability. So we use it for movement pattern, teaching the exercise. We look at extra stability. And then also there's some counter rotation and other things going on as well, because Zoe will be holding the cable in one hand, which is going to cause her torso to want to rotate. So she's going to have to use some counter rotation to keep the upper body stable, as well as, since the load is to the front pulling her forward, she's going to have to use a little bit of hip extension as well to stabilize everything and keep everything in place. And we would use this basically after, we could use the front foot elevated split squat with dumbbell or flat foot. I tend to use the cable split squat initially, because one of the problems we see that people will do in a split squat is they'll go straight up and straight down, because that's what their personal training certifications have taught them. They've been taught that the knee shouldn't go past the toes and other rubbish that's from the 1970s. So what we would prefer them to do is move like an escalator. So when we're doing the split squat, we're driving the knee forward and we're following that with our hips, trying to cover as much of our calf as we can with our hamstring, while also keeping the torso straight up and down and not arching back throughout the thoracolumbar region. So I find the cable is a good teaching tool for this. So can you grab that, Miss Zoe? So we're gonna hold the cable on the contralateral side, which means the side of the leg that's back, because we're working the front leg. So we're gonna move the leg back, and we're gonna have the feet on train tracks. We never wanna put them on a tightrope, because if you go on a tightrope, then you're constantly fighting that stability. So we want a decent enough foundational base. So we look at, heels being around hip width, or sometimes even maybe slightly wider. And then as Zoe goes down, she's gonna follow that cable down, and as you can see, that pulls her down like an escalator. And then as she approaches the bottom, she pushes with her mid and rear foot to come back to the top. And we want to make sure that the torso is straight up and down. We don't want to bend forward too much. While that is a useful exercise, it's a different exercise focusing on different things. We also don't want to round the upper back in this, twist. We also don't want to overly extend. So if people don't have good rotation in the hips, what tends to happen is if we tell them to keep their torso straight, they'll extend back too much. So we want to make sure that if they're having to extend back too much, we might want to bring the front foot up, and that will eliminate that. Then we get them stronger, and then eventually we can move them to a front foot flat split squat, which is what the goal is to be able to get to a split squat on the floor. And then moving from this, then we can move to a different implement, like a dumbbell or a barbell or anything else. That is the cable split squat.